Hi. Hello. How's it going? It's good to see you. I'm here. It's Tuesday night, and it's 7:00 p.m. Central Time, and it's Quilt Nerd. It's time for Quilt Nerd. Robin cheered. She's happy to be here, and I'm glad that you're here. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, I'm glad that you're here too. And we do the show runs from Twitch. I love Twitch. I don't know. I was on YouTube for years. It was fine. YouTube is fine. But Twitch is made for live streaming. It was built for it. And I like to rebel. And so we're here on Twitch. And so if you want to subscribe to Quilt Nerd and get lots of stuff, and actually tonight I'm going to tell you there's a lot of stuff coming up, including giveaways and special streams and things. And if you want to be a part of that stuff, you subscribe to the show, and you do that on Twitch. And you don't need to be afraid of Twitch if you're new to it, or if you don't know about it, or you think it's for like 13-year-old boys. Let me assure you, many grown-up boys use Twitch. It's not just for the kids. Yeah, it's a gaming platform. Absolutely. That's what it started as. But I've found really interesting people using Twitch for live streaming, violin playing, and I don't know, Lego building and dancing and beer pong and all kinds of things. Anyway, no, I like this format, and I like using this platform, and I hope that you'll join us over here because it's a good time. I have Stephanie Cake with me.
Hello.
Stephanie Cake came to me. I don't know. I got to look back. I got to get the lore. I got to see when you emailed me or messaged me on the Discord, and you were like, do you need some help? I don't know. Or maybe I was like, someone please help me. And you were like, I'll help you. I forget exactly. But you were so kind. And you're like, I know things. And I was like, I love you. Yes, I would love for you to help me. And here you are. And the show got exponentially better when you arrived. And I look at you every show on my phone. In fact, you know what? Look at this. You see that? I've never done this before. This is Cake, everybody. This is how. I hope it's okay. I didn't ask for your consent before I showed you on the camera. But there she is, my dear Cake. And I put her under the microphone. And one day we'll have so much money, Cake, that I'll pay you and I'll get paid and we can have a monitor, and then you can even like fly in for every show, and it'd be so great. But for now you're on my phone and you're under the mic, not because it's the best place for you, but because I don't know how to hook you up to the sound like through my system. So really when you talk, it's through my phone and the mic picks you up because you're right under the mic. That's how it works.
It works out.
It does.
Somehow it works out.
It does. It works out. And but truly, you're very valued, and you help the plane fly. You help make the plane fly. You tell people the things that are important, and you update us on your research project, which is sort of a new thing that's sort of grown from this show as you do a quilt research project, and that's really cool. And we're going to hear about that at the break. And you also one thing that I really like about having Stephanie here is you're really good at sewing. And one of the things we're going to talk about, you're good at sewing anything. You make quilts, but you also you can sew anything. And tonight I'm going to talk about judging. I want to talk about quilt judging, like being a judge of a quilt show. And there's a reason why I want to talk about it. And here's what we're going to do tonight on the show. And let me tell you, if you're new here, we don't tell you how to make quilts on this show. We don't teach you how, although you'll learn a lot about how to make a quilt if you watch Quilt Nerd. This show is it's live twice a week. It's basically me having the privilege of sharing my research in real time with you. I look at quilts all the time. I research for them for lectures or presentations or books maybe, and all kinds of things, articles and whatever projects I'm working on. And I did it by myself for a long time. And then I saw this journalist who had a Twitch channel, and she was researching this particular topic, and she was like, hey, she was on a podcast, and she said, join me on Twitch because I have this live stream, and I basically just research what I'm working on, and you can be in the chat with me. And I was like, that's amazing. I want to do it. So that's how this show started. That's it. And the journalist that I loved was on Twitch. And I was like, I think that's pretty badass that she's doing it there. So that's why I did it here. And you can watch it on YouTube. And like I said, I know if you're out there, I'm glad you're there. But anyway, so I want to talk about quilt judging today because I did a lecture today. I did a gig for the Quilt Guild of the British Isles. But it wasn't the Quilt Guild of the British Isles. I have given a lecture to them. Yes, last year. When I was in London, I did. I swear I did. But this was a different gig. This, today at 1 p.m., 7 p.m. London time, I gave a presentation to the Judges Committee of the Quilt Guild of the British Isles, okay? So these are the people who, it's the Judges Committee, right? And so they have a particular interest, and so I tailored my talk as best I could to kind of what, judges might be interested in and so forth. And I boned up on the guild, and they were formed in like the month of my birth in 1979. So we're like the same age, me and the Quilters Guild of the British Isles and the American Quilt Study Group, pretty much. So it was a good year, very good year for quilts. But I mean, in terms of organizations, right? And I also happen to have been born. Oh God, please don't take it the wrong. It was a great year for quilts, 1979. Anyway, so the Quilt Guild of the British Isles, Quilters Guild of the British Isles, they had me talk to the judges, and so I looked into the organization, kind of, just boning up on who I was speaking to. Of course, this is important. And I looked. They have a program, a course, to sort of certify you, or to go through a course about becoming a quilt judge, a certified, and I don't want to use the wrong words, certification and having a certificate for something. I don't want to say that that's what you get if you go through that course, because that does mean a certain thing. And in America and in the United Kingdom, certification might mean something else. I don't know, but you can, here in the United States and in the UK or in Britain, you can undertake study to become a quilt appraiser or a quilt judge. And these different organizations that do these things, if you go through that training and you complete that course, that confers respect upon you. You have that's of consequence. It's it matters, right? It might not matter to some people, but in certain ways and in certain applications, if you are certified or whatever by a certain organization, then that means something. And so I wonder what it means. And I'm not interested in critiquing any of these programs. What I'm wondering is, like, what is it to judge a quilt show? Because what I delivered today, it was a great afternoon, and someone asked me a wonderful question about judging quilts, and I'm going to bring it up when we get to that section of the show tonight. So we're going to have a discussion about that, and I'd like to know what you have to say about it. And really, when we talk about what does it mean to judge a quilt, because there's a lot of quilt shows. There's so many quilt shows. It doesn't have to be a quilt show with the Quilters Guild of the British Isles. It doesn't have to be QuiltCon. There are regional shows. There are like shows in your hometown, or in your home state, and there are judges at these shows, and they judge quilts. What is the criteria? What qualifies them to do that? And what happens when they judge to judge a quilt show is to judge art, right? So who decides? And I'm curious, and I want to talk about it a little bit. We won't reach necessarily any concrete conclusions, but I'm interested in the conversation. So we'll have that conversation. But so that's on the docket because of what happened today in my work day. The very last question of the Q&A session was, what does a typical work day look like for you, Mary? And I was like, oh, ha, ha. I laughed hysterically, and then the Zoom cut out. Anyway, so we're gonna do that, but we're also gonna talk about there's a show at the Royal Academy of Art in London that I didn't know about, that I learned about today on the call. So we're just gonna look at a quick video. There's quilts up in the Royal Academy, so we're gonna look at them very briefly. It's sort of an announcement, kind of a bigger announcement. And then the second half of the show, or the remainder of the show, after we hear from Stephanie, there are seven. Is it seven? Robin, don't worry, I've got them all. But it's the Quilt Nerd Pet Parade. months ago. I know all of you have these wonderful little pets in your life, and I don't know who said it. Did you say it? Was it your fault? I was like, we should have a show with the pets on quilts. I mean, I don't know. It was either you or me. I don't know.
I don't think it was me.
We put the call out, and there are some. I got pictures of some of the Quilt Nerds quilts with their pets. I mean, these pets are adorable. It's a problem. They're really sweet. So we have just a few pictures of like the viewer, and your quilts and your adorable like French bulldog, marmalade cat. I mean, like really cute. It's really cute. So we're going from like current, like current events to deep philosophical, discussion to dogs and cats. It's great. Classic Quilt Nerd. Okay.
As we should. And by the way,
please, yes.
We have a Quilt Nerd who is a certified quilt judge.
Oh my God! Wait, who is a certified quilt judge? I should know this. Like off top.
Amy Pabst.
Amy Pabst. Amy Pabst. If that quilt star, oh my God, if the guest star thing on Twitch would behave, like I could just bring Amy on if you were interested, Amy. I mean, Amy, this is huge. Okay, well, here's what we're gonna do, Amy Pabst. We're gonna start this discussion, and I think the chat is gonna be like very lively. I mean, I really want to talk about this. It's so interesting to me. And by the way, I do not come at this from some sort of hostile like stance. I just want to know, like always, like everything about Quilt Nerd. I just want to know. I just want to learn. And so, this question that we'll get to that this person asked about judging just blew me away. And I was like, I got to talk about it. I want to know about judging quilt shows. And so I don't have a position. I don't have any. I have no statement. I have no opening statement to make about judging quilts. I just want to learn. And so it's so cool that you're in here, Amy. Hey, Mary, thanks for liking the stream. Okay, cool. So Cake, tonight, especially when we do that, I'm going to rely on you to watch the chat because I'll be like, and then talking to people. Okay, great. So that's one of the reasons Cake is very, very, very grateful for her. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm going to get small and show you some stuff. Is that what I'm gonna do first? Okay, yeah. So let's, hey Deborah, so we're gonna start here. We're gonna start with the quilt behind me because that's what we do. We have a different quilt behind me every time to start the show. And this one, it all comes from today. You see, this is Susanna, who helps with marketing and all kinds of things on the show. She would love for me to plan out the content for the show a month in advance, because then she could like program social media posts and stuff, It'd be great. It would be great. It would be great for the show. It would be great, Angie, for so many things, but I've tried. Oh my God, it's the sewing kitten. Oh my God, we got the sewing kitten. What does it mean? It means someone gave, an anonymous gifter gave a tier 1 subscription to Quilt Nerd Show. Iroko, you just got a 1-month gift subscription to Quilt Nerd because someone who didn't even want to be named. That's how cool they are. They're like, I'm going to be generous, and I don't even need credit for it. Somebody gave you a subscription, a free subscription for a month to Quilt Nerd, and you know why it's valuable? Well, it's valuable because whenever somebody does that, the sewing kitten thing pops up, and that's like the best. Like, it's like everybody's favorite part of the show. I take a back seat to the kitten. If the kitten could host the show, I wouldn't have a job. But it's really cool because you get to be entered in the giveaways, and there's a lot of stuff coming up that is like for subscribers only. And so it's really cool. That's so cool. Thank you very much. And I missed, there was something up in the chat from somebody that did you see it? It was maybe on the screen. It wasn't in the regular, maybe it was from a YouTuber or something. I looked and I missed it. I don't know. That's why the Twitch chat is the best. To watch the show on Twitch and chat in the Twitch is great, because then I see it on my fancy screen here. The YouTube stuff is less easy to see. But I thank you for watching. Okay. Anyway, so we start the show with a different quilt every time, and everything came from today. That's why I can't tell Susanna ahead of time what the intro quilt is going to be, because I just don't know until that day. This quilt I featured in my talk today to the judges committee of the Quilters Guild of the British Isles. This is one of my favorite quilts of all time. Yeah. And I can have 20 favorite quilts of all time. This quilt changed my life. This quilt was made in 1922 by a woman, her name is Mary Jane Hannaford. She started making quilts when she was 80, and she made quilts for her grandchildren for the most part. Her quilts, so she was born in England, but she moved to Australia when she was young. And so she's considered like an Australian quilt maker. Certainly, she was an Australian when she started making her quilts at age 80, right? When I saw this quilt, let me zoom out again and just show you the full thing. I grew up in a household with lots of quilts around all the time. My mom did quilts for work, you could say. And I had an appreciation for quilts, but I didn't make them until I was like almost 30. And I was looking, like when I started making quilts, I made them the way my mom made them, which is great. I made them sort of by the book, because when I started making quilts, suddenly I was making them with my mom, like at work, you know. But I was looking in a book of quilts, of antique quilts, of some book of quilts that I was looking through, had this quilt in it. Hey, Connie. And I didn't know you could make a quilt that looked like this. I didn't know quilts looked like this when I saw this quilt. 1922, Australia. It's called the wedding quilt, and it was made by Mary Jane Hannaford for her daughter when she got married. And in my world, quilts were symmetrical. They were great. They were beautiful. They meant all of the things that quilts mean to us: warmth, comfort, home, textiles. They're quilts, man. They communicate a lot of things without saying a word. But I didn't know that you could break the grid, if you will. I had never considered it. I never considered that you could make shapes, that you could basically just draw and make it a quilt, I didn't know that. I didn't think about it. And I was a creative kid, but quilts were log cabins, like log cabin quilts. They were storm at sea. They were these traditional block-based quilts, or they were applique quilts, but they weren't appliqued with brides and grooms on them, right? Like this. Look at this Look at this little pumpkin holding the train. My God, okay? Unbelievable. When I saw this quilt, and I saw it and for one thing, by the way, the blue. Can we just appreciate the blue? and the diamond shape of the leaves on the vine. Mary Jane Hannaford, I can tell you, she was born in she was born in like 1840s, early 1840s. She went to Australia, arrived in Australia in 1842. Look, she embroidered a lot. Wild swan. Let's see, hold on. Look at this shape, like, of this bird. It's absolutely sublime. To me, it's sublime. And it's like simple is complicated, right? Like you can look at a bird that looks like that, and it's like, yeah, that looks like a bird I would cut out. I mean, it's way better than one I would cut out, but it isn't perfect. And this gets into the judging conversation that I want to have, right? How do you judge a quilt? What is your criteria? How do you approach a quilt if you are to judge it? I mean, there is, this is a role you might be given one day. And let me tell you something. If you watch this show all the time, you know more than you think you do about quilts. And I swear, it's like if somebody hears you talking at some cocktail party about quilts, at some quilt cocktail party, we would have the best quilt cocktail parties, so I'm just saying. But if there's some other quilt cocktail party happening, and and somebody hears you talking about quilts, you really do know a lot, and who knows, somebody might ask you, would you be one of the jurors on this quilt show? It's like, how would you do it? And Amy Paffs, you're going to be able to say a lot, and you're not on the spot. It would be mean to ask you to answer questions on behalf of all judges everywhere. But anyway, this person didn't have formal art training. She made her quilt by intuition, if you will. And this quilt, to me, is a masterpiece. It is absolutely perfect. And I love it so much. And it changed everything because I wanted to know more. I was like, oh, quilts aren't just what I thought they were. They're art. They're, and this is before I even understood the art versus craft discussion. I just mean that, like, oh, that looks like something that I just want to just look at. I don't need to sleep under it. I would love to, but you know what I mean? Like it was perfect in this very special way. And so I shared that quilt today. And so I thought it would be the intro quilt. And because we have a chance, here's just another Mary Jane Hannaford quilt, the Good Night quilt, also made in 1922. Is that right? Hang on, I've got really great detail shots of this. 1921. Look at this. Look, Mary Jane Hannaford. Hey, Carol. Mary Jane Hannaford, aged 81 years. Hey, SK South too. First time chat. I'm so glad to see you, SK South. And you know what is going to happen? See, you're chatting in the Twitch. And what happens when you do that is that people in the Twitch chat, which is like the Quilt Nerd, community, you get welcome baskets. Because when you're in the Twitch, when you're watching in Twitch, you get all these fun emotes, like welcome baskets for new people. You get to like send them welcome baskets, and you get to like, I don't know. We have all kinds of fun emojis. It sounds dumb, like it sounds silly. Like we're all grown-ups here, we're talking about like, deep thoughts about art and stuff, but it really comes down to the fact that we really like the wine emoji, and like if you're here, you can use the wine emoji, and if you're not, you can't, So anyway, but all those welcome baskets are for you, and I'm really glad that you came by and that you chatted. It's a good community. It's good in many, many deep ways that you will understand the more you come around. Anyway, look at this. Mary Jane Hannaford, aged 81 years. Don't we love? When the people put their name on the quilts on the front, and when they tell how old they are. You know what? Wait a minute. I'm not doing that yet. I am going to do that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put how old I am. The next quilt I swear to God, I'm going to say Mary Fonz, Chicago, age. I'm going to do it. Wow. That's intense. It's intense.
I might do it, plus or minus 25 years.
Yeah, exactly. Although, it's funny, I haven't seen anybody. It's funny when I think about the quilts that we've seen when women put their age on it. It was always after a certain age. Like, I feel like I'm 40. I don't need to put my age on. But like Elizabeth Holmes, right? The Elizabeth Holmes one, she's 68. Mary Jane Hannaford's 81. It's like, look, I'm 70 years old. I'm putting my age on the quilt. It doesn't matter. Now I'm like, do I need to? I'm like, maybe later. Yeah. Anyway. So look at this. This is really wonderful. This is what Mary Jane Hannaford wrote. Put in her, she embroidered it, right? Let's read what she embroidered. By the way, wait. Hold on. We're going to read it. But look at this. Look at these shapes. Off to school. We're going to see the little, look, they're off to school. I don't know. Why do you watch this show? Like, why do I make it? Well, because of that, and oh gosh, sorry. And like, look at the bird. And we have looked at Mary Jane Hannaford before on the show. It's been a while because I remember because I was in the other office, but like Rosella, look, Rosella. Maybe it's the bird, but maybe it's the name of someone. But let's go over here. Wait, let's go back. Okay, wait, hold on, right here. Okay, yeah. Omission. Okay, omission. Oh, it's my friend. Hi. Okay. Omission. Omission isn't the thing you do, dear. It's the thing you have left undone, which gives you a bit of a heartache at the setting of the sun. The tender word forgotten, the letter you did not write, the flower you might have sent, dear, are your haunting ghosts tonight. Oh, God. The stone you might have lifted out of a brother's way, for life is all too short, and sorrow is all too great. And it's not the thing you do, it's the thing you leave undone, which gives you the bit of heartache at the setting of the sun. I mean, look at the stitches. I mean, one 20 seconds for me to read that. How long for her to take each stitch, you know? And that meant so much to her in this quilt that she did it. She did the whole thing. And by the way, and remember this when we talk about judging. Like, look at the word might there. It is a design choice. I mean, you could convince me that it isn't, but like, why is the lower serif, I don't know the names of strokes on letters, but like the G, the bottom half of the G is so large. And it's so
You
cool.
liked making G's.
She loved the G's.
There's even an extra G down there under... Oh, no, actually, that G goes with thing.
G goes with thing. Oh, yeah.
The great G was so big that the thing G had to drop down on top of leave.
Good eye, Cake. And the thing is, she could have like, you know, decided to like, well, that's a little much. I'll rip that out, right? I'll unsew that. I'll unembroider that. But she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. She made it happen. Hi, honey. Yeah, thank you. Bye, Vida. So yeah, she made a choice, and this was her design choice. And are those G's consistent? Well, yes, but they're not perfect, right? And again, when we start talking about judging, how do you judge a thing? And you might be talking about it in the chat already. I'm keeping things rolling here, but you know, the G's are consistent in their inconsistency. To me, it is beautiful. And by the way, if you look at her whole, oh my God, what? Look at the quail. Look at this. Okay, every time you look at a Mary Jane Hannaford quilt, you find something delightful and something different that you didn't see before. I mean, is the quail like in the reeds or something? Right? It's so great. It's so great.
Aren't quail the type of bird that like hides down in the grasses?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, exactly. It's the quail in the grass. And also one of the things that made me so happy when I looked at Mary Jane Hannaford quilts, hang on, let's go to another detail. Well, I mean, same. Ugh, totally same. Like, I get it. This is my mood. Like about 2 p.m., you know, each day. It's just me. But she seemed to just put little bits where they felt good, you know? It's like doot, you know, it's like confetti or something. And it follows a pattern, but it's just intuitive, or it's free. Look, yeah, here, off to school. Oh, wait, though. Oh yes, these little, they've been sort of adopted by Quilt Nerd. These two show up in some graphics and things that I've done for the show. Just I like cut out their little selves and make them dance around. They're in the intro video I'm working on. Anyway, let's appreciate that hot pink, 1921, not bad. But look at this look. Okay, and then we can move on. Darby and Joan. Let's see. Something happy old age. Our happy old age. Darby and Joan. What does it say? On a happy old age? Something? It's hard to say. It's so cool. It's so great. I love it so much. And this is really, that looks like, you know, it's sweater material. The care that she took just blows me away, you know. And the wedding day. I mean, yeah. And that's something like when I darken the door of Ivy and Hedgehog, you know, and get back to this idea of making YouTube videos, like I need help. Like there should be a Mary Jane Hannaford YouTube video, right? Like there really should be. And I have so much information about her and all these quilts, and I don't know. People need to know about her, right? And that's why just doing Quilt Nerd seemed like a no-brainer. Like, I want to share this with you. Like, I knew about this person years ago, and who am I going to talk to about it, you know? It's not my work, it's her work. But like, you should know, So anyway, so that's Mary Jane Hannaford. Okay. Oh, and this is the back. They're here. We'll close with this, but this is a great picture of the back of the quilt. Here's our poem down here. And she didn't, so they're not quilted. I mean, the quilts that we have, and there's like 6 of them. There's only 6 of them. Oh, Cake, and I shared that link with you to the National Gallery. Did you share it? Okay. So if you follow the link that Stephanie put in the chat here on Twitch, if you click on that, you can see the quilts that we have of hers, and there's not that many. And they are coverlets. They were really wall hangings for her grandchildren. Look, here are our friends. Here are our little friends. Yeah. It's good stuff, right? Very good. Cool. Okay. So that's our intro quilt and a little dip into that. Okay, here we go. Couple announcements. I want to tell you that friends from Quilt Nerd sent me this. God bless you. You sent it from QuiltCon. It just arrived on, I found it on Monday here in the office. So you sent me a really great postcard from QuiltCon, and it's Stephanie Bridgewater, and it's Mother Nature, and Kathy, and Ivy, and Jill, and Molly, and Sandy, and Jane. I think that's everybody who was there from Ruby Star Society made this really great postcard. And I want to tell you, big announcement. I think I'll be at QuiltCon next year. I think just watch out for when the tickets go on sale for Raleigh, because I think I might. I'd love to meet up with you. How about that? I'd love to meet up with all y'all at QuiltCon next year. I think that sounds like a fun time. So I'm not committing to, let's just wait and see, but I'd really love to see a lot of you there. So let's just keep your dials tuned to, I don't know, Instagram, or we'll definitely this show, and we'll see if we can meet up, And the other announcement is that we have a giveaway for every month for subscribers, and this month the giveaway will be on what date is it? 29th?
It is the 29th, yes. The last Saturday of this month.
The last Saturday of the month, I'm going to give away a couple things. I'm going to give away a back issue of Quilt Folk, Southern California. One of my favorite issues of all time. I have back issues from when I was editor. I have some. I don't have a ton, but I have some. And this is this Latifah Saphir, man. Great cover. Great cover. Great quilt. Latifah Saphir, Southern California issue of Quilt Folk. I'll sign it for you. I don't know. I'll sign it for you. But yeah, I'll write you a note. That's for sure. But that's not all. That's not all. The book giveaway for April, you get that. And you also get this. Let me get the price tag off of it. This is a great book. We have lots of dusty books that we use in this show. And this is a really good one. Quilters, Women and Domestic Art and Oral History. Hey, Sally. Patricia Cooper and Norma Bradley Buford. This is a classic. One of the things I love about this book, photography is great. The photography is great, but it's an oral history, so you really hear from the people. Oh, look at this. Look, this is great. This is a great style shot. It's in chicken wire. Like it's in what, a flatbed truck? 1974. Photographed in a cotton wagon. It's fabulous. So we're going to draw for that. And if you want to be in the drawing, come over to Twitch and subscribe to the show. Not only do you not have to watch ads, you get to use all those fun emojis and stuff. You don't have to watch ads. You get to watch emojis. You get to be among the people here in this very specific way. And you know what else? You support the show. It takes a lot to make this show. I'm not going to lie. I mean, if I did the math, it's like kind of a full-time job. And if you liked Mary Jane Hannaford's quilts, you never knew about them before, you learned about them here. So maybe it's like, oh my God, there's so much content in the world. So much of it is terrible. I really like that content. And that content creator, she's working really hard to bring me cool stuff. That's where I'm going to put my content money dollars. And then this is a very special. This is a very special out of print book of quilts from G's Bend This is very nice. This is very nice. I have 2 copies. Oh, I have 2 copies. I don't know how it happened, but I have 2 copies. And if you're a tier 2 or tier 3 subscriber, you get like extra special giveaways. Yeah. So subscribe at tier 1. You're in the giveaways each month for each month for the book giveaway. And then if you subscribe at the tier 2 or tier 3 level, there's like you're in that giveaway, this giveaway. But then you're also in like more giveaways for like, things like this, kind of like upper tier, right? Upper tier giveaways. So you get, I don't know. I think you should subscribe. And I think you should subscribe at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3. Whatever makes sense for you. I think you look great at tier 3. I don't know. I just think it looks good on you. What can I say? The last announcement, and then we're going to talk about quilt judging, okay? The last announcement is that on Monday, the 17th, I go to Iowa. And I'm going to go work with my mom. And I asked Mike McCormick at Quilt Folk if I could mention this. And he said I could. So this is the first ever announcement. I have not said this in public. I asked Mike if I could tell the Quilters Guild of the British Isles this piece of news. I was like, can I talk about it to them? And he was like, I guess so. Like, yeah. So I'm going to tell you. My mom and I are going to do a workshop for Quilt Folk online. An online workshop for Quilt Folk. And we're going to film it in May. And my mom hasn't been on TV in years. My mom and I have not taught together in years on TV or otherwise. I haven't taught quilt making in years. And my mom, after she and Liz sold the business, I mean, they were kind of, they were done. Like, legally and interest-wise, that mom could work for, that mom could do a workshop for Quilt Folk is a big deal. And it's taken time, and it's taken a lot of back and forth, whatever. Like, it's business, right? It's business, whatever. We've been working on this. And it's official. Mom and I are going to teach, Mom and me? No, me are going to teach. No, Mom and I will be teaching a workshop for Quilt Folk. And it's going to be, I don't know. God, Mike didn't say what not to say. So it's going to be called Finishing School. And we're going to teach people how to finish vintage quilt tops and blocks. And it's going to be freaking awesome. And I'm so excited. And we've been working on it really hard. And like, working with my mom is great. It's wild and crazy and exciting. And it's really fun. And we're gonna teach this workshop because the Quilt Folk Foundry, we're finishing these quilts and like employing people like Stephanie Cake, and Robin's helping out with the project too. And like we're finishing these quilts that weren't finished before, that didn't get done. And we're getting them done. And Mom and I and Mike and like we want you to finish quilt tops too that you find. And maybe you have vintage tops and blocks that are just casting about, or maybe you go to a flea market or an antique mall or something, and you see these things, and it's like I would love to work on that, or I'd love to finish that, but how do I do it? I don't want to break it, Well, Mom and I have been doing a lot of R&D on this stuff, and on Monday I'm going to Iowa. And Mom and I are going to work for a week and a half, hard, every day, to develop. We've been outlining and, hey, Kay, all right, wow. We've been working on the outlines and stuff. We talk all the time about all of the stuff, but we're gonna really be sewing and in the lab, working up the class, and we're gonna film the class. We're gonna film the class above the Iowa Quilt Museum. We're gonna film it there. And it's going to be for Quilt Folk. I can't tell you exactly when it's going to air yet. It will happen this year. And see, that's the thing. So I can tell you about all this. It is real. It is happening. But what would be bad is if, Quilt Folk subscribers should get first crack at tickets and all of that. I don't know how much it will be yet. This is not my area of expertise, okay? I just I bring the content, okay? Like, I don't do the other stuff. So I don't know. But it'll be like a 2-parter, and there'll be 3 episodes for sure for the first part, and then like 3, We're working on it, but it's gonna be awesome. It's kind of like getting the band back together, you know? I mean, me and my mom, we haven't worked together in so long, and we just love it so much, and we love working together, and it's so great. And so I couldn't talk about it. It's been in the works for months, but I couldn't say anything because really, that would be dumb, you know, to say that like maybe this will happen, but it's happening. I mean, I've done a lot of work, and we've all done a lot of work and put a lot of stuff into this to make it real, and it's totally real. Finishing school, yeah, we're going to teach you how to finish tops and blocks, and it's going to be through Cool Folk, and it's my mom and me. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. So cool, right? Yay! It's going to be a good time. Oh my god, it's going to be so fun. So, and let me.
I'm glad it can be talked about because I'm very excited about it.
We do. And you know what? On that lecture. Finally gonna get over here, and I'm gonna let you talk about things, for God's sakes, you people, and not me. But let me get small. So what's been so cool about it is what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Well, on the talk today, I talked about the foundry, you know, the Quilt Folk Foundry. We're finishing these tops and selling them, you know, to their forever homes, these rescue quilts. And they were really fired up about it. The people were like, that's cool. And they had a lot of questions. You know, they had a lot of questions about it. And it was, people get excited about the idea of finishing something that somebody else started. Hell yes. Like, God help me. I hope somebody finishes all the things that I start, you know? Hey, Betsy. So anyway, so that's a big deal. And frankly, you heard it here first. You know, you really did. You heard it here first. And so I went into all of that because all the shows next week are going to be from Winterset. I'll be in Winterset for the show on Tuesday, and I'll be in Winterset for the show on Saturday. So a week from tonight, I'll be in Iowa. Mom, you know what? Mom will probably come on Tuesday night with me or Saturday night. My mom's really funny, though. Is she in the chat? Probably. She drops in, you know, but sometimes she's like, I gotta go to bed. You know, she's like, Mary, I'm gonna come on the show. I love the show, but you know, when it's 9 o'clock, I'm gonna go into bed. And so we'll see. She's Marianne. She gets to do what she wants. So anyway, so that's the news, y'all. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I just can't wait. Okay, so here, Joyce. I just saw Joyce says, my first visit here. Joyce, I'm so glad you're here. You picked a good night to come. I've got a video to show if you wish. Hey, Mrs. RJ. On quilt judging. And so we can look at that. It might be a good place to start us off. So I've got that queued up. I've also got the website for the Quilters Guild of the British Isles, sort of their program that you can take to become a quilt judge. I think it's 2 years that you know, it's correspondence, if you will, correspondence course, whatever. And so we can look at that criteria. But I wanted to start this discussion, or just kind of put it out there. And are we going to have this discussion all night on the show? You know, no. Do I want you to think about, am I thinking about what it is to judge a quilt? Yes. And maybe what this show is just like, I don't know, something for you to talk about later with people you hang out with, or people you talk about quilts with, you know, maybe on the Discord, you'll talk about stuff. But somebody today asked me, she's great. She's like, how do you judge a quilt that's really, really great? Like I'm paraphrasing big time, and you should know a lot of the quilts I showed, and like I showed Mary Jane Hannaford. Let's take her, now that you all have her quilts in your mind, let's imagine her quilt, right? Any of her quilts. And so this person said, you know, how does a judge a quilt with, and she said shoddy, and I'm going to use the word that she used because it was important, because that's what sparked all of this, like my desire to talk about this tonight. She said, how do you judge a quilt, you know, that might have, and she's kind about it, shoddy workmanship, you know, like, you know, that isn't that well made. How do you judge that against a quilt that is well made? You know? And I told her, my initial response was like, if this was a discussion, if this was a question that was asked in an arena where I was an audience member, I would be rapt. Like, I would be completely like couldn't wait to hear what the answer was. I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer to that question. It's a very good question. But she asked me, and so it's like, well, and here's the answer that I gave her. Here's the answer that I gave her. Because I said, I've been thinking a lot about this, actually, because I think about this stuff all the time. So I not side, but I agree with Carolyn Maslumi, who has said many times, there's not an African American quilt. I mean, there are people who have written books on this notion that that African American quilts, as such, look the way they do or have the certain characteristics that they do because of influences from Africa. That people who were black in the South, who had ancestry, who were enslaved or had ancestors who were enslaved, that there were these, kente cloth, that they had these sort of almost genetic predispositions to make quilts that looked a certain way, that had certain motifs or something. And this is something that you hear, that you read in books, that African American quilts as such look the way they do because this is like sort of genetically predetermined. And it's a very interesting theory. Carolyn Maslumi has said this is just nonsense, that it's nonsense. It doesn't make sense because a lot of people who were making quilts had no awareness of some certain motif in Africa when they started to make a quilt. So it's complicated. I am not a scholar of African American quilt traditions by any means. But it makes sense to me that there's not an African-American quilt as such, because there's quilts. And if you watch the show and if you look at quilts and you think about stuff, part of the problem with, destroying old vintage quilts is like a lot of people have an idea that there is such a thing as like an African-American quilt. And I feel like a lot of people wouldn't dare like cut up or destroy an African-American quilt that looked like a G's Ben quilt or something. But the truth is that people of all kinds make all kinds of quilts all the time, as they can, right? I mean, people make quilts. People make quilts of all styles and kinds, and so you don't know what you're getting rid of or throwing out or cutting up or whatever. And you might be digging real deep, cutting real deep into history that we don't have a lot of. And so anyway, so this idea that there's an African American quilt, this woman talked about, like, the woman who asked me the question, she's like, how do you judge quilts? That basically what she was saying is, and she had nothing to say about, race did not enter into her question at all, nothing like that. The reason I bring it up is because you look at a quilt from New England, let's say, New England, Connecticut River Valley or something, 1850. And it looks the way it looks. And then you look at a quilt, that would have been made in Mississippi or something, in a different river valley, and they look really different. And the stitches are really different. The stitches in the quilts in New England are really, probably, I'm being, rhetorical here, but you know what I'm talking about. Tiny stitches, whole cloth maybe, beautiful, intricate stitches, but also the quilt itself is spotless. Like, it's like white, it's like some white quilt, whole cloth quilt that's really beautifully quilted, and it's clean. It's just really, really clean. And the reason that it is because the people who made the quilt, doesn't matter what color they are, the people who made the quilt, clearly somebody had time and space to do that work, and then to put it up so that the children wouldn't get their grubby little mitts all over it. They had space to put it away until they were done with it, or to pull it back out again, And so the stitches are really like, they're not shoddy, they're perfect, because there was time and there was space and there was help and there was, and the quilt that was made in another part of the country or another part of anywhere, another planet. It was made on another planet where there wasn't as much space and there wasn't as much material. There wasn't as much material you could choose from, and there wasn't as much help. So you didn't have the opportunity, if you were making this particular quilt on this particular planet, you didn't have the ability to keep it as nice, as clean, as free from hands. But the thing is that quilt that was made on that planet, if you will, like, is amazing. And to judge that quilt by the criteria that you would judge the one in New England would be silly. Like, why would you, these are different planets. Like, they make different quilts, they're different planets. One is not better than the other. It's just not better. And so what really, I just loved the woman for asking the question, because I was like, isn't it true? Hey, Jane. I mean, isn't it true that, like, if you're, it's really nice outside. Like, this is happening now. It's 75 degrees in Chicago. I'm actually amazed that's the first time we've heard music on Division Street. Anyway, so what's interesting is, like, I've judged a couple quilt shows or been a juror or whatever, and the whole idea, and this is where I stop. This was my sort of monologue. I just wanted to set up this conversation and tell you what I was thinking about, and now we can discuss, right? But in my experience, when you judge a quilt show, and I have limited experience, but, like, you're not supposed to know anything, right? Like, you're supposed to judge the quilt on its merits. It's blind, blind jury. But isn't it, I mean, I suppose it's, like, tricky, but, like, the terroir of a quilt, right? The context of a quilt, the genesis, the birthplace of that quilt has everything to do with how it is, and, like, how beautiful it is. Mary Jane Hannaford, I mean, look, and here's the thing. I pulled this out. This is Mary Jane Hannaford. This is in the Australian Quilts book that I've got over there on the shelf. Listen to how this is spoken about, the Mary Jane Hannaford quilt. These are some of Australia's most charming folk art quilts. Hey, Paul. This quilt, they're talking about a Mary Jane Hannaford. This quilt was made as a wall hanging, and the words "Sleep, Baby, Sleep" are embroidered above 7 angels in the center. It has no backing and is appliqued quite crudely and embroidered with many different fabrics, many sewn together into strips before application. All quilts by Mary Jane Hannaford are folksy and whimsical, many containing angels, and many having sayings and poems embroidered on them, reflecting Mary's feelings about life and the passing of time and her love for Australia and flora and fauna. Crudely, charming folk art. There is a sense of this is different. Like, this is charming and lovely, and they like it's respected, these quilts, but there's, like, the workmanship compared to other is shoddy. It is compared to other quilts that might be featured and might be judged more favorably. So that's what I have to say. You can disagree with me. You can think that what I said there's problems with what I just said. That's totally fine. It is completely fine. I won't be upset. It's okay to have different perspectives. It doesn't bother me. And so, but how do you judge a quilt? How do you judge a quilt if you don't know where it came from? I don't know. So, Cake, you've been watching the chat. What have you seen so far? Give me kind of, like, since have you, anything that you want to toss out into the discussion, kind of highlight?
Well, Marcia just said something that I have heard before that people have faced, and it's that knowing that the expectations of the judges are going to be so stringent that they've done things like taking the binding off their quilt multiple times and putting it back on to get it even more perfect.
Yes.
And then Marcia says her friend didn't end up putting her quilt in the show, or putting her quilt in the show because she thought she would be rejected because of the binding.
Wow. Wow.
That sucks.
Yeah.
If I may,
please
just pontificate for 2 seconds, and I'd really be interested if Amy's still here. If she
Yeah.
has like something encapsulated to say about, you know, the process or the expectations of judges. But I'm sure
Yes.
it's a huge can of worms, I'm sure.
I know.
But I think, you know, it's when I went to art school, we did the critiques, that basically tear out your soul and
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The critiques,
but
right.
you know, it was always really important, I think, not to judge anything like in comparison to another.
Okay.
I think that's really important. And, you know, do judges go into judging and go like, you know, look at 5 quilts and go, well, clearly that one is the good one and the other ones are, you know, in comparison. But I don't think you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to, you have criteria and you judge something like in a vacuum, based on that criteria, that quilt only or that item only. And I also think it's very important that there is criteria.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I know after QuiltCon, I know a lot of folks were sharing their judges cards or whatever, the feedback.
Wow.
Yeah. And, you know, I saw a few where I was like, wow. You know, I realized they had a lot to get through. I realized that.
Sure. How many? Do you know how many?
Like,
sorry about that. Do you know how many quilts at QuiltCon?
I've volunteered at QuiltCon for like 3 or 4 years, and I always did takedown, not hanging. But you know, it's in the hundreds that they're dealing with. But as far as like what is submitted, that's this whole separate committee. Those are the jurists, right?
Right. Hey,
so,
Susan.
I don't know. I know judging is tough, but I think it's important that if you're gonna give somebody feedback, you give somebody worthwhile feedback, and that it goes back to those you know, the guidelines, the requirements. And then that further goes back to the fact that, you know, in my mind, as you're talking about like the New England quilt and the, you know, the Southern quilt, I'm thinking if I sat there and tried to compare, say, I don't know, this very fine, perfect, you know, beautiful whole cloth quilt to an awesome quilt by Rosie Lee Tompkins, like you can't judge those quilts with the same criteria.
Right.
So if those 2 quilts were to be entered into a show, one or the other would have to be rejected because it shouldn't meet the criteria, unless the criteria is wide open. Right. So,
and you have judges who are like deeply knowledgeable about like stuff. Like,
and you know? I would say that QuiltCon is probably one of the most open kind of, you know, they have a whole bunch of categories, and especially in the earlier days, you know, the craftsmanship, probably they weren't very hard on that. You know, obviously I think they would pretty much reject any quilt that wasn't actually finished. And believe it or not, they got some that were not finished.
Really?
Like,
I would so submit a quilt that wasn't finished. I'd be like, I didn't get it done, but I'm gonna finish it. Yeah, right.
I'll finish it once it's hung. I'll be there early.
It's finished in my heart. Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, I think where QuiltCon has struggled, Modern Quilt Guild has struggled, and everybody who is familiar with the argument, you know, knows where it's coming from, is really what is the definition of a modern quilt. There's that whole thing, and like what belongs at QuiltCon. And they, you know, they draw the line in the sand and are like, well, we're not going to take antique quilts, obviously. We're not going to take these ultra traditional quilts, obviously. So yeah, I think it's a sticky wicket, and I feel sorry for judges. Amy, that's a hard job you have. And it sounds like you love it, but it's a hard job. I don't know that I could do it.
I don't either. Oh, Amy, God, I wish I could just pop you on the screen if you wanted to do it. I mean, I get too scared. I don't want to try to do that guest star thing. I don't want to crash the show. There's something that isn't right about it. I don't want to crash the show. Could we Zoom her in? Well, Amy, first of all, you are like the definition of on the spot right now. But you did identify yourself. So maybe that says something that you're like willing to like chat. If you were down, like, and we, you know, I'd ask, we'd keep it tight, right? The conversation, I'll try to be a good, you know, moderator. Not that you're like in some hostile situation, but just like, I don't want you to, you know, we would know that you would not be answering for all judges, you know, or talking for all judges, you know, in the quilt world, whatever. But we could ask a few questions, right? It's worth the try, right, Ivana? Hey, girl. Yeah, exactly. Just her voice, right? Like, what do you think, Amy? Would you like join our Zoom? Because then we could hear you. I could see you on our little screen. What do you think? So Amy says, by the way, it's so awesome hearing everyone's perspective. Personally, I'm always very glad when I see quilts in shows with the so-called shoddy workmanship. Right on. My number one goal is to, as a judge, is to encourage everyone to make more quilts and to enter more shows. I love it. Yes. Yes. So if you wanted to, I mean, like my first question for you, Amy, is like, what does it mean to be a quilt judge? Like, what is that? What was your experience? You know, I would love to know. And hi, everybody, by the way. Oh my God, it's so good to see everybody. I'm just finally looking at the chat. There's been a lot to get out into the show tonight, so I haven't looked down. But also, I genuinely free you from doing this. You didn't plan on this tonight, so it's okay if you don't want to come on a Zoom. But it's all really interesting stuff that comes up, and I think part of one of the biggest educations, like one of the biggest lightning bolt, really important lessons I've learned since like doing Quilt Nerd, just like doing this, is like traditional quilts. Like, whose tradition are you talking about, right? Whose tradition? Because I will cop to it all day. There's probably a zillion videos of me saying like traditional quilts, blah, 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 improvisationally pieced quilts, and blah, 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 blah. Like, this is a traditional quilt. That's a traditional quilt. It's traditional. It's traditional American quilt. It just depends on kind of where you were and who taught you how to make quilts and stuff. And so it's interesting because, I don't know, like, to judge a quilt, it almost seems impossible in a certain way, because to know all kinds of, you know, different regions and so I don't know. And also because I don't want to sound like I don't know. I want us all to figure this out, right? The other thing is, I understand people, and this is true, the older I get, the crankier I get, frankly. You know, it's like I really respect the fear. I don't know. I'm afraid all the time. I respect people who are afraid. I'm afraid all the time of like losing things, and you can't control it, and you should probably let it go. But like, you know, people who, like, I remember, you know, it's like, well, you can't do raw edge applique on your machine. You know, that's cheating. You can't applique on your machine with raw edge. You know, it's cheating. And hey, Cindy. And it's like, cheating, like, it's cheating. I'm sorry. Who's cheating? Like, why can't you just make a quilt that you want to make? And I tried to sort of figure out, why would somebody really come down hard on a person who wanted to applique on a sewing machine? And people who don't actually make quilts are like, what are you talking about? But like, you know, Jane Hannaford was doing applique and needle turning her applique, and it's so lovely. But you know, you can do it faster if you do it on a machine, a sewing machine, and you don't have to turn the edges under and stuff. And it's like, why would somebody be a quilt police person and be like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. That's cheating. That's not the right way to do it. And it's got to come from fear that nobody's going to do like stuff like, I don't know, like Jane Hannaford anymore. You know, it's like, for people, you know, it's like, tradition is important, and you do want to keep skills around that are really, that produce beautiful things, you know, and that take skill. And I understand, you know, if someone's like, well, the quilts that are really, you know, 16 stitches to the inch, those are really important quilts. Those should win, because those quilts were made with all of this skill and all of this tradition and all of this labor and all of this stuff. But it kind of falls apart, because any great quilt.
And so do the quilts with 16 stitches to the inch, because they rip easier.
Well, yes, exactly. They do. They do rip easier. And they tear families apart, you know, because mothers and daughters are like, I hate you, do it over, I don't want to do it over. But no, it's true. And like, you know, 16 stitches an inch, yeah, it's good if you want a real puffy, nice looking thing, and it really does, it tears the fabric up because there's that many holes in the fabric. You can't use a quilt like that, but you can use a breechy quilt until it's threadbare, right? So it's a pretty interesting situation. Yeah.
Well, I know, I mean, my mom was getting into quilting the same time your mom was. And
Yeah.
I don't know if your mom has ever talked about this. My mom did, because I feel like every one of the guilds my mom belonged to were like full of nasty old quilt police.
Yeah.
But then, back then they were like, oh, it's not a real quilt if it isn't hand pieced and hand quilted.
I know.
Like, if you use a machine, good for you, but that's not a quilt. Like, top, back, batting.
Yeah.
I thought those were the criteria for a quilt.
Exactly. And the people, and by 1870, people had sewing machines. If you didn't have a sewing machine in your home in 1870, you probably had access to a sewing machine. And people who had sewing machines, I mean, think about this. Okay, let's just think about this. Let me just... writing with a feather pen, like a quill pen. Can you imagine if you were like trying to write a letter? I write longhand. I'm a diarist. I write in my journal every day. If I had to dip my thing in the thing and do this, if a ballpoint pen came along, if a Bic showed up, I'd be like, thank you. Oh my God, please never ever give me a bird's feather ever again. And I think that it's been said, there's evidence, Barbara Brackman, there's diarists and letters and things that you can find of women who say, I'm no longer the slave to the needle. I can use a sewing machine and get things done so much faster. The Amish, for God's sakes, the Amish machine pieced most of the quilts that came from Lancaster County, in the 19th century. A lot of those quilts were machine pieced and hand quilted, using their little treadle thing. But it's great to use a machine. And technology, we're afraid of technology. Look, I don't like TikTok. I don't trust it. I don't like it. I'm not doing it. But a needle is technology. A needle and thread is technology. Scissors are technology. And to use technology to help you make things is not a crime. And it doesn't make your quilt less authentic. It just doesn't. Because scissors are technology, needle and thread technology, sewing machine technology, long arm machine technology, digitally printed fabric technology. I mean, sorry, it just doesn't hold up if you're it's not a quilt if it's, I don't know, machine quilted. I mean, it's silly. But it's a different quilt, sure. Because if you hand quilt a quilt, it just feels different. It doesn't feel better, it feels different. My mom says, there's a lot of ways to get to where you're going. If you want to go to the store, you can walk, and depending on where the store is, let's say the store is walkable, okay? But you can walk, and it takes longer, and you notice things that you're at a walking pace, and that's one way to get to the store. You could get on a bike, and you're going to get there faster, and you're going to notice things differently because you're on a bike, or you can get in the car and go. And the way that you get to the place, it's faster or slower. You notice different things, whatever. It's the same with quilting a quilt. You can quilt it by hand. That's one experience. It takes longer. You notice things you might not notice if you did it faster. You can machine quilt it at home. It's like riding a bike. Or you can quilt by check, and that's really fast. And you can hire someone like Ivana, to quilt your quilt. And by the way, she would never, ever, I mean, this is coming from me, y'all, but I gotta tell you, Quilt Tops by Ivana, we have a long armor in our midst who is not just good, she's great, and she has given not once, not twice, but 3 times. Ivana has donated the quilting of a quilt. She has donated a long arm service. She has donated her long arm services to this show for giveaways. She did it for New Year's Eve, and then she did it for New Year's Eve again, but she was like, no. 1 is not enough. She has long-armed quilted 3 quilts as a gift to this show and this community. I'm not going to cry. Ivana, you're amazing. You're amazing. Pastrami Tacos had a quilt quilted by Ivana. I can't think of the other people who did, but I got to tell you something. If you need a quilt quilted, I would strongly suggest that you tap one of our very own. I think you should talk to Ivana about your quilt. I'm just saying, I think you should do it. She would never, ever, ever have me say anything like that. This is coming from me. This is very organic, but I really value her. She is very good at what she does, and I think you should reach out to her if you want to get a quilt top quilted. I mean, if you want to have your quilt quilted. Anyway, Stephanie, yeah, take the mic from me. Like, is anybody said something that I need to talk about? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've kind of gotten off on bindings and facing.
Okay,
and,
yeah, and we can move
the
on.
nasty quilt police and all that jazz.
Yes. Okay, so there you go, and we'll have talk about this more, and we'll discuss, and maybe we can get a panel or something on. I don't know. It's interesting, right? Have you ever judged a quilt show, Cake? Have you ever? I think you should.
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't, and I would really struggle. I think I think sometimes I've been to shows where there is clearly like a handful of quilts that are so well designed, so well executed, just for whatever reason they stand out. And I think, oh yeah, I would have picked those two as the number ones. But a lot of times I'll walk around a show and I'll be like, well, why wasn't this quilt recognized?
Right.
I feel like it should have gotten a prize.
Right.
And then I'll see something like, okay, that got like a first prize, but I saw an almost identical thing last year by somebody else, and I'm like,
yeah.
And that's where I think that it's for me, judging is tough because it's not objective, even though it's supposed to be.
Right. Exactly. It's not objective, and
at least I couldn't be objective.
Yeah. I couldn't either, and maybe that's kind of like, it's like not pay to play, but like, you got to know that if you enter in a show, you got to know it. You're just, I think that's the only way you should probably enter a quilt in a show, is you're like, look, it's subjective, it's subjective, it's crazy, it's luck. Frankly, it's like if the judges are tired and they're just like, I have a stomach ache, I love that quilt, first place. That's how it's really depressing, but that's kind of how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, and I think this year with QuiltCon, I think there was probably a little rumblings of friends judging friends' quilts.
Oh, really?
That kind of thing. I absolutely know. And I won't name any of the artists because some of them are just amazing artists. Some of them I know personally and absolutely love. But I'm like, your quilts are so identifiable. There is, covering up your name on the back, your label is not going to protect the identity of this quilt. And when any one particular person who has a very identifiable quilting style gets like 4 quilts in, I'm like, damn, couldn't you just take 2 of them and maybe open up 2 more spots? That would be really cool.
It's either it's either a good sign because they're like, we literally did not know who made this quilt, or it's like, well, I don't know. But there's also something to be said for like, if you're like a superstar and you're really good and you win a lot of stuff, like I don't know, do you need to enter 4? I don't know. Don't hate me or do. It doesn't matter. It is fine. It's totally fine. But it's interesting. It's all very interesting. So maybe that gives you some things to think about, some food for thought. Maybe it'll make you think about quilt judging or contests or entering things differently. That's all. Just differently. Not change your mind, but just make you give a layer of consideration as you're thinking about all of this, right? Okay, so let's take a cake break. Cake, what's going on with your research project? I am going to run to the ladies' room, and I will be back, and then we're going to look at pets. And basically, it's all downhill in the best way from here. There's pets. There's like adorable cats and dogs on quilts, and it's almost not okay how cute it is. Like, they're really great. So I'm going to hand it over to Cake, and I'm going to run to the ladies' room, and this has been a lot of fun. I'll be right back. Yeah? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Okay. So the Dunton report. I'm actually getting to a point in the research where, I don't know if I've told you guys, I am putting in a proposal for seminar this year, for AQSG seminar, to do a study center about Dunton. And I'm not sure how long it might take to say yes or no. So there's a few things I need to hold back now because they are kind of, I don't want to say earth-shattering, but there's some interesting pieces that I need to hold back in case I get to do that presentation. I'd like to keep it fresh. So I'm going to hold back some stuff. But if they don't accept it, I will totally spill the beans as soon as I know. Because, Dunton, he's always full of something. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about is maybe not so much, well, I'll tell you specifically about a weird conundrum. Those of you that have the genealogy experience, you've probably run into these kind of situations before. So this is I'm preaching to the choir here. But if you don't have this research experience, you've never done this before, it's crazy how you fall down these rabbit holes, of course, but you'll find some insane conflicting information. And I actually have one right now that I'm really not quite sure what to do or say about it. So I will tell you. Dr. Dutton corresponded with a woman named Erla Rodashevitz. It's RodakieWicz, I think, Rodashevitz. Now, Erla Rodashevitz is that's I don't want to say that's like the most common name. Well, in my research, I did find Erla Rodashevitz, and I'm 99% sure she is indeed the person who was corresponding with Dr. Dutton. And hopefully I still have her thing pulled up. I can literally read you. This is one of the last letters that they exchanged, or she sent to him. It was in 1946. And he for a while, he had two coverlets, it's two spreads, and a quilt of hers. And I finally realized that the way that he met her was at the Folk Center in New York City. He did some type of presentation there. He and Mrs. Dutton were there. The second Mrs. Dutton were there. And they met Erla Rodashevitz, and I guess started talking. Somehow or another, he got these three items from her, these two spreads and a quilt. And he ended up having them, I kid you not, I think for 2.5 years, because all kinds of craziness happens with her. And in this last letter, it says he apparently had sent her some type of postcard. And this is where it's frustrating when you have like one half of the conversation, you don't necessarily have the rest. But essentially, I guess he sent her some type of correspondence. And this is what she said. She's been apologizing about him having the quilts for so long. He's been or the spreads on the quilt. He's been trying to sell them for her, and so on and so forth. And I think what this is coming down to is she's feeling guilty that she's stuck him with these three items. But then she says in this letter, but frankly, or let's see, let me go back a little bit. But deciding since then, there has been nothing but an uneasy conscience to remind me occasionally of the subject, meaning that he's got these things. But frankly, that postcard view of your house with its attic, and attic is underlined, quieted those qualms. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, for some reason she thinks his house has an attic, so I guess she assumes, well, you have plenty of storage room, right?
This is that doctor, right? That doctor?
Yes, this is Erla Rodashevitz.
Yeah.
So scrawled on the corner of this envelope, I'm guessing is in Jessie Dutton, which is the second Mrs. Dutton. I'm thinking this is her handwriting. It's definitely not Dr. Dutton's. But it's scrawled on the envelope, such nerve to assume we have an attic. So I don't know what this is about. At this point, I think Mrs. Dutton has had just about enough of Erla Rodashevitz.
Yeah, she's done. So
the next thing I did, and I too thought Erla Rodashevitz is a little pushy. So I'm like, I want to find out about this woman. So I start Googling, and I start looking at Ancestry, and I start looking at newspapers.com. Well, it turns out Erla Rodashevitz is a doctor. She's originally from, not doctor, medical doctor, but doctor, PhD. She is originally from Indiana. She might be the most interesting woman in the world. She had this crazy life. She married a Russian anthropologist who died like in the 20s. She had a son who eventually became a photographer and filmmaker and director. For those of you that are into mysteries, if you've ever heard of the Voynich manuscript, she was friends with Voynich.
Oh, wow.
And then today, she also wrote a publication about immigrants. She actually had three degrees from Heidelberg, someplace in Germany, and someplace else in Germany, and Cornell. So she's a very educated woman. Long story short, I was looking for one last thing today.
Yep.
And something else comes up, and it says, Erla Rodashevitz, and it's in relation to Georgia O'Keeffe. And I'm like,
whoa,
what now? let me pull this up and let me read this to you guys. Now, again, Erla Rudashevitz was born Erla Hiddle. She was from, or I think her mother might have been married twice. There's the last two names of Miller or Hiddle are both attributed to her. She's born in Indiana. She marries this Russian. She gets all these college degrees. She's this kind of loud, pushy woman in New York. Now, according to the Library of Congress, and this is what is like, if it was anywhere else, I would have just assumed that it was a mistake. But this is from the Library of Congress. Now, her son's name is the one who was a photographer, screenwriter. His name was Henwar Rudashevitz. And I've confirmed they're talking about Henwar Rudashevitz here as having a relationship with Georgia O'Keeffe. And let me read this bit to you. Oh no, where'd it go? Hold on a sec. Okay. It says, O'Keeffe made frequent visits to stay with Garland and Rudashevitz. This is Henwar Rudashevitz, the son, where she met and became friends with Rudashevitz's mother, Erla, a former social worker born in Poland. Wah, wah, wah. This is the Library of Congress now.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, so genealogists out there, you guys are like, oh yeah, been there before. You find two people, same crazy name, living in the same place at the same time. Entirely possible. However, the Library of Congress is wrong because Henwar Rudashevitz is absolutely Dr. Erlashevitz's son.
Whoa! Whoa!
Absolutely. I mean,
Really?
absolutely. I
That's
have
wild.
multiple things that prove that. So,
Isn't it like
Yeah.
it's a treasure hunt? It's so much fun.
yeah, we're in Bird. Yes, I checked the censuses. Yeah, that's part of what I've used to confirm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Obits, censuses, and some other like actual like documentation on her family. So it's so weird. And I'm like, well, can I just call the Library of Congress and be like, who wrote this?
Right. How do you confirm that information, right?
But anyway, what I wanted to say though is just for this long rambly story is that you find these things and you're like, well, you know, Erla Rudashevitz is just a piece of my Dr. Dunn story, but is she really this like fabulously interesting person or not? You know, you just run into these things and they are a question mark until you can like really kind of suss them out.
Yep. I mean, and it takes like, I don't know, it takes a lot of, you have to stew in this stuff before you even realize like which leads to follow and like what's worth looking into. And then, yeah.
And when you find something like that, you know, like again, if it was just some random like blog, somebody who's like, oh, I'm the Rudashevitz family, blah, 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 I would have been like, I think you got your information wrong. Because I have several censuses and I confirmed she's the lady that lived at Hudson Gardens. He was writing Dr. Like, really, I have lots of proof that I'm right.
Yeah.
But it's the Library of Congress. Like, you think they fact check.
Yeah, you would. But, you know, the stuff that you're reading, like the primary source stuff, like, I've realized, and it's no hate toward anybody who does anything, and it's so hard to get everything right. I mean, there's a lot of errors in the Birth of Mextroth stuff that's been published so far. I see it all the time. And as somebody who's like published stuff, oh my God, it's horrible. It happens all the time. You make mistakes and you can't believe it, and then it's in print and you're like, oh my God, but what are you gonna do? Because it's really hard to put things on paper that are true and error free. It just is, because like think how many times you like redo a sentence in your email. Like once you put it in, think about if you printed every email and it was like available at the Library of Congress, you'd be like, okay, well, no, you know,
right?
That's pretty cool. Nice cake report. I mean, Dutton report. Cake
Dutton
break.
report.
It's good. It's good.
Yep.
I got a transmission while you were telling me what you were telling me from Ivana. I got a transmission from Ivana. She called and I couldn't answer, so I was texting with her. She's gonna give away a long arming. She's gonna give away 250 right now. It was very difficult.
Ivana, girl, you crazy.
I know. It was very difficult to listen to you, and I was listening to you, and also get this information to be like, thank you very much. Thank you. Because, that's Ivana she did it. This is what she does. She's doing it. She says, this is what she says. She says $250 toward one edge-to-edge long arm quilting service. Once they reach out to me, I'll share the remaining details. And yeah, she's giving it away. And so Robin, who is Our Lady of Subscriptions. Robin's so good. She's like, and when I say she's the den mother, I mean, there's not a higher compliment. Like, oh God, for a den mother, right? Like Robin really helps, like, just, yeah, she helps like wrangle me and just sort of, she actually, what Robin does is she helps make the subscription experience better, because she thinks strategically about like, hey, like, how do we like reward subscribers? How do we make it a really good experience for them? How do we make sure they're getting what they, signed up for and all that? So Robin, I don't think we should give it away right now, right? Should we give it away right now? We shouldn't give it away right now, right? Should we? I mean, Robin, tell me what to do. Cake's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. What should we do? Help us. It's so, Faux Vintage said it. Gifting long arming is so generous. Yeah, exactly. The chat is like, what? Like, and she's so good at it too, you see. So
Saturday. Yeah, Ivana is suggesting Saturday.
Yes.
Robin is saying wait till Saturday. Yes. So like those of you that are in touch with other quilt nerds who may not be here tonight, spread it around.
Yes.
Talk about it on the disco.
Yes.
Give our Ivana a pat on the back on disco. And yeah, we'll do it on Saturday. Historically, there's a lot of people here now, but I think historically Saturdays are a little bit more well attended. People don't have to watch the replay as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Saturday nights are great, and I got to tell you, if you're watching on YouTube, so Twitch, so I see the counter of like who all is watching, like total, right? So there's viewers on Twitch and there's viewers on whatever, and so I see. So if you want to win your quilt quilted by Ivana, that you gotta subscribe. It's a subscriber giveaway, so you gotta be here over on Twitch. And if you haven't tried Twitch before, it's you can sign in with your Amazon Prime account. It's just like, it's a website. It's just another website. So do it. You should do it. And on Saturday night, now we have this extra giveaway, and it's a long arm quilting service. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah, you want to be here. Ivana is putting a stipulation on it. You need to be here.
And Ivana herself says you got to be present to win. Amen to that. I completely. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, I fully approve of that. That is a good call. So show up on Saturday night, and we're going to have like, I don't know, like, did you like the show tonight? Mary Jane Hannaford talking about quilt judging. Oh yeah, these amazing pets that we're about to look at. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the kind of show you see when you watch. So Saturday night, I don't know what's going to be on the show, but it's going to be pretty cool. And you could win this thing. So subscribe to the show. It'd be great. Stephanie, it's a big week. We're going to, hopefully, you're going to submit a thing to do a thing for the AQSG. I don't know if you are or not. You haven't said.
I told them I am.
Okay, thank God.
I told them I am, so.
Oh my God.
I just don't know. I mean, I told them I'm holding back some Dutton smut until I submit that and find out if I got in. And if I don't, that's cool. I'm still going to go to seminar. And I will just spill the beads when I find out if I don't get the study center.
Yep. Well, we are going to, we're going to see what happens, and we are going to be very excited when we're all at AQSG seminar watching your thing. Okay. So look at this. What could it be? Let me get really tiny here. What a wonderful, oh my God, tonight has been so much fun. And here we are to see, I mean, there's not that many of these photographs of quilts and pets. But I mean, if there were more than what there are, I mean, I don't know, what is it, 10 or something like that. I mean, there's like 10 people sent pictures of their quilts and their pets. So it's not like a Quilt Nerd on Parade show where sometimes that show takes like 2 different episodes to get through, because there's so many people who want to show their work on the show. But Quilt Nerd on Parade, this is something we do 4 times a year where viewers share what they're working on, and it's like a fan favorite show, and it's so much fun. But somehow, somewhere along the way, I know what I have to do. I have to fix this. Somewhere along the way, it was like, let's do a show where we feature, your pets. And so some of you wanted to show your pets and your quilts, and I'm so happy that you did. And here, good God. Where is my paper? Oh, here. Okay. So
I believe this is My Great Cats, yes.
Oh, thank God. I mean, and hold on. My Great Cats.
And I believe these floofs look like they were freshly brushed before they were put on this quilt.
These creatures are not legal. They should not be together. They are not, they are not authorized to be this cute together. Are you kidding me? Is that a collie dog and a marmalade cat? I don't think it's okay. I think it's a problem. In fact, excuse me. Okay, let's see what My Great Cats has to say about these scamps. Look at these. Oh my God. And then there's a second picture. Oh, Finn, I'm so glad you're following the stream. Thank you for watching. Okay, here, look. Oh my God. Okay, let me hide myself. I mean, Vindaloo, you've got to be kidding me. Hold on. Oh God. It's so good. Here we go. Here's My Great Cats, one of our family members around here, frankly. I've taken lots of pictures of my furry babies over time, and when Quilt Nerds announced we would celebrate National Pet Day, oh yeah, it's National Pet Day. What's the other reason why we're doing this? I thought, what a great opportunity to showcase my quilt and my babies. Showcase a quilt and my babies. Since I recently submitted my grandmother's quilt, it had not yet been packed away. So I thought, let's try and get a family photo and use it as the background. I remember this quilt, and I remember Billy. I remember Billy now, don't I? I do. I remember him. My Great Cats continues. While I am not a maker of quilts, I do love them, and through this process, have discovered that they make a really great background for pet photography. They really do. I think my babies also like posing on a quilt as they cooperated pretty well together, and I was able to capture some great family pictures. So here's my babies: Vindaloo, Martini, Billy, and the dog Trisket. Oh, Trisket! Oh my God! Oh, Trisket! I love him so much. I really like that your dog's name is Trisket. It makes me really happy. Oh God. Okay, moving on. Kenny. I mean, I love a cat that has any ginger moment at all, whatsoever. So I'm very happy to see this. A friend of mine asked if I could reproduce a quilt he had as a child. I started asking questions and got very little input. I eventually settled on the bento box pattern, and I found this fabric that had all these colorful dots. All the colorful dots. This was my very first fully pieced, queen-sized quilt top. Queen-sized top. Everyone, by the way, wrote these perfectly without any typos or weirdness. I just am not reading it very well. This was my very first fully pieced, queen-sized top, as I'd previously done panels and borders. The quilt inspector is Loki, and he is a frequent quilting helper. Loki. How very tricky of you, Loki, to sit on top of that quilt. You're beautiful, and the quilt is perfect. I love it. Yeah, it takes, somebody, if you want to make a quilt for somebody and they don't give you any help, you really gotta, yeah. Okay. It's wonderful. Loki is perfect, and you're perfect, and we love you. Okay. Oh, well, who's this superstar? Who is this beautiful, beautiful cat? Who does it belong to? It belongs to Dee Dee. It belongs to Dee Dee Brew Crew. Now, I have to tell you that when I printed out my stuff, I didn't print out the names. Oh God. Okay, Dee Dee, help me. Is this Tiger? No, this isn't Tiger. Lord. Dee Dee, help me, Dee Dee. Hold on. No, it's not that. I've got all of the comments from people. I've got the comments, but I didn't put the thing. I didn't have the Lord. Gandalf. Yeah, exactly. Hold on. It's Gandalf. Oh, it's Gandalf. Yeah, it is Gandalf. Okay, hang on. Oh, your baby. Oh,
Yes, Gandalf.
Okay, Gandalf. Okay, because I've got to. Okay, Gandalf. Where? Oh Lord. Hold on. It's Gandalf. I'm trying to find your comment, Dee Dee, that you wrote, and you also have this. Look at this wonderful photograph. Look at this thing. My God. And Dee Dee's quilt. See, that's the other thing. Is like, which is more beautiful? The sleek, slinky sylph of a feline, or this like gorgeous quilt top. And what is this fabric, by the way? Boy, if I needed some fabric, I might shop at Picking Daisy. Okay. Anyway, I'm trying to find what you wrote about it, Dee Dee. I'm so sorry. It's Gandalf. Okay. So why am I not finding this? I'm so sorry. Gosh. Oh gosh. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to go right here. Look at this cat. So Gandalf and hang on. We're not in any rush. We're doing perfect. Wait, is that Gandalf? No. Okay, here we go. Okay, it's all happening. I apologize. I got the wrong.
The solid gray, I think, is Smokey, and Gandalf is this magnificent whiskered fellow here.
He's really, really. That is really a great photograph. Let me zoom out and show again while I pull up the thing. And I apologize, Dee Dee. I need to. I don't know. I need to find this thing. So, Cake, you have 2 cats, by the way, and tell me while I'm getting this, the names of your cats they're wild. They're wild names. They're great.
Cats have, they require special names. One of my cats is Nancy.
Yeah.
And then our other cat, which is technically my kid's cat, is named Starscream, which Starscream is right. One of the Decepticons of the Transformers. So
yeah, and it's perfect. Thank you for helping me. I have it now. I have the information. Dee Dee, I'm really sorry. Gandalf the Grey. So Dee Dee Brucker says of her cat, this cat here, Gandalf the Grey, is pictured here on my summer sampler, 2019. And Smokey Joe is on a baby Heatwave quilt. Let's take a look at the whole thing. Made in 2022. That's really a great photograph. It really is. These boys love hanging out with me while I make quilts, and they also make it very difficult as they want to snuggle up with every quilt project and process, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know. I feel like if you've got a house with that and that, like a quilt and a cat like that, like you're probably doing okay. I'm just saying it's probably going to be okay. Dee Dee, thank you very much. These are beautiful, beautiful animals, and they really love you. I just know that they do. Okay. Okay, Auntie Sin. I mean, what is happening here? What is happening? I don't even know. I don't even understand. It's not possible. Nothing. It's all impossible. All right. Here we go. Well, meet Thibodeau. Am I saying that right? It's spelled Thibodeau.
I believe that's Thibodeau.
Thibodeau. Meet Thibodeau. Thibodeau gets champagne because, French bulldog. Okay, meet Thibodeau. I call him the world's biggest, ridiculously handsome French bulldog. Mm-hmm. They have been bred down in height. Thibodeau is a throwback to the origins of the breed. I have 2 photographs, by the way, of her. From Auntie Sin. He's as tall as a Boston Terrier and has a 4-foot vertical leap when he's excited. Same. He's also 40 pounds of muscle. He will come and whine at me when I've been at the sewing machine too long, complete with Frenchie yelling. The second picture here has my mom's Shih Tzu named Charlie Brown. He's actually the yappy one, but he loves to crash under the sewing table while we sew. Oh my God. I love this picture. I love that Charlie Brown's like in motion, like I gotta get over there. Like it's very, very sweet. I really would love to have an animal. I really would love that. And yeah, this isn't helping. Auntie Sin, good job. It's awesome. Okay, so there's a couple more. That's the first half, and then there's the second half. And this would be Padma's cat. Yeah. Beautiful photograph again. Black and white cat, red and white quilt. It's working. It's working for me. It's really, really a successful photograph. I love it a lot. So hold on. Let me see here. Okay, great. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. Padma. Okay. Let me just make sure I don't want to mess anything up. Okay. Tiger, right? Tiger. Yeah. No. Oh, hey, stop. No. Okay. Oh, yeah, great. Yeah. Padma, can you tell me the name of your sweet little. Okay, here we go. So you've seen this quilt before. Padma, stop me if I've got this wrong. I've got to do something where the next time we do a submission thing, there's one other tweak, and Robin, you do everything perfectly. It's great, but there's one tweak that'll really help me that I keep not knowing how to ask for when we submit. But this is important to mention because when you submit things for the show, like it really is, the organization of it is kind of wild. And so I think I just figured out tonight how to do it. So Robin, remind me to tell you my idea. Okay, so Padma says, you have seen this quilt before. This was one of my very first quilts when I started quilting again in 2022. I have always loved red and white quilts. These are my rescue animals, all from shelters. My dogs, my dogs are both Jack. Oh my God, I can't. It looks a little like Lou. Doesn't it look a little like Hannah's dog?
Yes.
Just a little bit?
Yeah, they look like scamps is what they look
They're
like.
scamp. If I ever saw a scamp in my life, Padma, Rubialis, you listen and you listen good. He's trouble, and you know it already, but oh Lord, look at that trouble face, look at that scamp face, and look at what did he do? What did he do this day? I cannot right now. I'm sorry. Let's learn more about these. Let's learn more about these little scamps. He's smiling. Look at him smile. Oh my God. Is he watching right now? Is he like, what's happening? Sorry. Teddy will be 12 and Charlie will be 8. Padma, which is Charlie and which is Teddy? You probably said. He howls like Lucha.
I think Teddy is the one that's on the right because I think I saw that on the collar. I can see that on the
okay. Okay, great. Good eye. Oh my Padma. I do know this quilt. This quilt is great. We saw this quilt a long time ago. I love it so much. And by the way, this cat Chip the cat. Oh, well, I think we'll get along just fine.
Chip, I have to say, I love a tuxedo cat. This cat has a cummerbund.
Oh.
This cat has a cummerbund going on, and I love that.
You are right. You're right. It's got a cummerbund. That's perfect. It's perfect. He's perfect. Chip is perfect, and he's got the perfect name. He weighs more than either dog, Padma says. They get along well. I don't mind the cat on the quilts unless he has a mind to wipe his butt. Don't ask. Okay, wow. But the dogs are not allowed on the quilts on rainy days when they come in with muddy feet. Okay, well, that's approved. Okay. Excellent. Very excellent. Okay, good. Marianne Tea Cake. What, there's four more pets to see, and then I mean, I don't even know if I could take it. Okay, well, hang on. I know I keep teasing you. Oh, okay. Amy Pabst. Thank you for being part of the show tonight. I absconded with you at one point, and you were great. You were great. I really appreciate you and the feedback and what you said in the chat. It was fantastic. So anyway, and you have a dog. You have a dog, and the dog is great. And the dog is hold on. This is Friso. Yeah. Wait a minute. Hold on now. Hold on. Amy, I think I've got it right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This hasn't happened like this, where I don't have the names on the comments, and I feel really, really dumb about it. But I'm sorry. You're gonna have to help me out. It's Friso, right, Amy? Yeah.
She says Leah or Lee.
Okay. Hang on. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so Amy says, this is my poodle dog, Lee, who is my biggest fan. Look at this. Okay, yeah, I have comments. Okay, who is my biggest fan and the only one allowed to sit on my quilts. Yeah, we've seen your quilts, Amy, and I wouldn't breathe on them. I mean, they're really great, and I think that, yes, I think that Leah gets good. Okay, the only one allowed to sit on my quilts. As soon as I lay one on the floor for photographs, she immediately lays on it. She also comes and stares at me when I'm sewing until I give her a strip of fabric to chew on. She's getting to be kind of a cranky old lady, but she's still the light of my life. Woo! It's really great. It's really great. A cranky old lady, but she's still the light of my life. Yeah. This little pup, and what I really like about this picture is everything, but she's like, the color of Leah is perfect for this quilt, and I don't know, I mean, you said she lays on each one, but that aubergine and like that lavender and stuff, and just, I don't know, there's almost a kind of a purple quality to her in this photograph, at least. Maybe I'm making that up, but it's really great. And is that...
No, I think you're right. I think she's an older dog, and she's kind of, you could see her skin like on her side. She looks like she matches the quilt. Yeah. She's a cutie. She's so sweet. Old dogs are so sweet.
She's so sweet. I love her so much. She's yeah. And I like, old pets are particularly, I don't know. They just, when I see, like, I don't know a whole lot about dogs, but when I see a dog with a real white muzzle, I guess that means they're kind of older, and I don't know. I feel like I go to those first, I just think they're just so great. Okay. Whew, yeah, good stuff. All right. And then let's see. Whew. Yes. Okay. So this is from Marianne, and this is Marianne's. There's Marianne, and then we've got Stamp Fee, Mod Art Quilt. Sorry, we got Mod Art Quilt, and then Vanderlinen. So we've got this is our third to last pet here. Friso. I have two pictures of Friso here. Oh, this is from Marianne Tea Cake, who is sound asleep, I'm sure, in London, but she'll be seeing this tomorrow. Friso is my little quilting buddy, says Marianne. He's almost 12 and is a Bichon Frise. Our family resemblance is our wavy white hair and love of food. I mean, the dog and owner thing, it is kind of true. And I gotta tell you, Marianne, adorable. There is the wavy white hair. It's true. She said it, not me. I've had him since he was 6 weeks old, and he was a joy to have during the pandemic. We had to stick to our routine of going out for walks. Hang on, let me get over here. So my days always had structure, and he made me laugh or smile every day. The quilt top on my frame was made by a woman who seemingly only enjoyed making tops. Let's take a look at that top. Okay. She after her death, her son donated about 30 tops to a pal, and I'm quilting some of them for charity. This one is huge. It is 106 by 106. Wow. And it just fits on my 12-foot frame. I have no idea when this one was made, but it doesn't look too old. She's not a maker once known, as I have a note of her name, and I'm going to finish another one of her tops when I'm a better quilter and enter the Festival of Quilts in the 2-person category. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's really neat. You could enter in. Oh, that's really weird too. Because we were talking about quilt shows. And
now that's an interesting idea, because when you enter QuiltCon, you can enter as a multi maker quilt.
Oh my God.
What if the other maker was 100 years ago and you don't know their name?
Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh my God. You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to enter. You have to finish a quilt top or blocks. Oh my God. Maybe there's a whole new category. Do it. That would be so cool if you were like maker once known and Stephanie Cast Dyke. I mean, come on. Like, oh my God. That is very awesome. I never thought of that. Good call. That is a very interesting idea. Yeah.
Okay, so Faux Vintage actually tried it and didn't get in.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, well.
Fine. Okay, fine.
Try again.
Yeah, they're like, this doesn't count. Like, okay, fine. Maybe there's just going to be a new show with just time, collaborations across space and time. Okay, we'll just do a new thing. Anyway, okay. So yes. Okay, yes. Oh, that's why I missed Gandalf, because I see what happened with my notes. Okay. So Marianne and Friso, spelled Friso, Friso. Right? It looks like Friso, but it's Friso. Look at that sweetheart. Oh, Mom's dog Scrabble looks a little bit like that. She's a golden doodle, but she's got that wiry hair. Oh, Marianne. Good old Marianne. Okay. Now, this is our friend. Oh my God. This montage. I mean, this, not montage, but, what's the word I want? Not montage. Collage, yeah. The scrapbook, the collage. Here we go. So, let me just go over here. Okay, hold on. I'm going to let you enjoy. I'm going to zoom in here. Okay, great. Okay, here we go. Hold on, I want to make sure, yes. Okay. Amy, okay. So I want to make sure that that Vanderlinen, that Pem, you're out there, right? Pem Burrito? Yeah? Okay. The Carmichael. Let me just make sure. Let me just get the thumbs up from...
Yeah, okay. My great cats has confirmed this is Carmichael.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so here's what Pem has to say. My best quilting bud, Carmichael, passed away last year. We had 20 incredible years together, comprising my 20s and 30s. An exceptional supervisor from my very first quilt to the last block he was here for. He'd happily rearrange my carefully lined up blocks to match feline chaos aesthetics, purr happily while I was seam ripping and swearing, while napping on fabric I was trying to keep cat hair free. He'd check my progress and remind me, sorry, hang on, let me just do, I'm gonna go with that. He'd check my progress and remind me he needed treats and chin scratches, and remind me that I ought to take that break I'd put off. Okay. Oh, I just saw that. I saw my head in that picture. You may mention it. Okay. No, I don't think you do mention it. Look, you're watching Quilt Nerd. Oh my God. Oh my God. I know that. I remember that. Oh, wow. That's funny. Okay.
I think you failed to notice yourself in a lot of Quilt Nerd pictures.
Really?
This is not the first one I've seen. Yeah,
are you serious?
Some of the other,
that's funny.
Some of the other Quilts on Parade have had you. Or maybe it's the ones I see on Disco, but yes.
Oh, that's funny.
You are often in the picture.
That is very funny. I love that. And I have not noticed until this very moment. Okay. Look at you. Carmichael's so sweet. Okay. After Carmichael passed, Pem continues, my next quilt was a star pattern in black and white. There's a second picture, but I'm going to keep... God, Carmichael, you're so beautiful. Yeah, a star pattern in black and white. When I stumbled across a heart-rending poem on loss, I realized that this monochromatic quilt needed to be top-stitched with a range of orange threads by hand in Carmichael's memory. Wow. Just like grief, it's a slow and steady work in progress. It will be for my bed, where he spent most of his nights curled up with me. And here's the poem by W.S. Merwin. Your absence has gone through me, like thread through a needle. Everything I do is stitched with its color. And Pem says, thank you for letting me share this story. I found Quilt Nerd just as Carmichael's health was taking a sharp decline, and y'all were a gift during these hard times. Really good. Okay. Thank you, Pim. Oh, yeah, that's good. Thanks, Marilyn. Yeah. Oh, whew. Okay. We have one more picture, and you know what? It's perfect. I didn't time this out. I mean, obviously, things aren't perfect, but this is perfect. This is perfect to end, because look at this. Oh man, the life force continues, you know, like look at this scam. What is going on? What is even happening? Wow. Like, yeah, like just, oh my God, the life force, you know, it continues. It's out there. The energy is out there. And this is really like, you know, like, yeah, this is a cat who's happy to be on a quilt. Let's put it that way. Okay. This is from Mod Art Quilt from Jessie, and it's Tiger. And this is Tiger as a kitten, yawning on a freshly washed quilt just made for one of my daughter's birthdays. What a stinker. And Mod Art Quilt says that the project is one of the scrap quilts that she's made for different people. It's one of the scrap quilts that she's made for different people, and this may have been her niece's quilt. But regardless, it's Tiger as a kitten, just being Tiger. You know what I mean? So, oh my God. Well, that's a really good white picture. It's a really good picture. Sorry, Pam. You really, I mean, you really got me. That was a really beautiful poem and a really, really nice tribute to Carmichael and Tiger. You're trouble. You're just a scamp. I mean, born to be wild. That's what I say. Okay. Yeah.
I am in no way surprised that you all have such adorable, fabulous pets, and I'm sorry that I've barely paid attention to the quilts.
I know. It was so nice that Marianne was like, here's the story on the quilt. And I was like, oh yeah, the quilt. I forgot about that part. Okay, well, everybody, this has been a really, really fun show. I appreciate you sharing the pets, obviously, and sharing the discussion. And by the way, I did want to say that Amy Pabst, the quilt that was pictured in the picture of Leah on the quilt, that quilt has a name. It's Heat Lightning. Heat Lightning was the name of the quilt, and Amy said it's her main competition piece for the year, and has been all over the place for shows. But that Leah's opinion of it is the one that really matters. And I'm sorry I missed that part of what you sent to me, and I'm sorry that I missed that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Leah's opinion is the only one that matters. The cranky old lady, like. Yeah, I want to know what she thinks, and that's it, you know? I get it. So thanks, everybody, for coming to the show. What a ride. And on Saturday, we're going to give away a long-arm quilting service, and we'll talk more about stuff and look at a lot of things. And there is a show going on at the Royal Academy of Art in London that has some of the quilts from G's Bend. So we'll watch a clip about that, but that's going on through... I think June. If you're over in England or in the UK, there's some quilts from G's Bend up at the Royal Academy of Arts. We'll talk about that and all kinds of other stuff. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Stephanie Cake, for keeping the wheels on. All right, I'll see everybody soon enough. Take care, y'all.
Night, guys.
Bye. Bye. Where's my button? Okay, it's right here.